Hi, welcome back to Glow's Eatery, and today I'm making a mushroom bisque. It's something that my husband and I love for a lunch, and a bisque is a soup that has thickening to it, like flour, like a roux. So I'd like to have you come over to my pot here where I'm going to be putting it on medium heat, adding a couple of tablespoons of olive oil, and let that heat up now while I prepare the mushrooms. The first mushroom is shitake, and if you do purchase shitake mushrooms with the stems on, make sure that you remove them. Do not have them in the bisque because they're kind of rubbery. So I'm going to just chop these a little bit so that maybe they're in thirds. So 1, 2, like so. I don't want them to be too small, but enough so that they don't overpower the other mushrooms. So that looks pretty good. I'll take and put these aside and go to the next mushroom. The next mushroom is your regular white mushroom. And here again, just lightly, whoops, lightly chop her up. And they do shrink when they're in the soup itself. So you don't have to be fussy over how much you chop away. And if you notice, there's a lot more here. There was a cup of the shiitake, and this is 2 cups. All right, so that's preparation for the next mushroom. The last mushroom is an oyster mushroom. It looks very gangly, but it really adds so much flavor to this mushroom bisque. So just, again, chop away. That looks good. So now I'm going to add the 3 variety of mushrooms into the olive oil that's been preheated. You can hear it. There's 1, 2, and 3. And just take and swish it around a little bit. Put it down a little bit so it doesn't get burnt. And this should be in the pot for about 4 minutes while you prepare the garlic and onions. Okay, that ought to be good. I have 2 garlics here that I want to cut up into fine pieces, and as long as you can get them into little slivers. I freeze the garlic, so if you notice, it's a little bit easier to cut. And then I have a small onion, and I want to dice that. So there's the garlic. I'll put that to the side. Take a small onion, and I always resort to the way I saw my mom dice an onion. So I do vertical, turn it around, and you can usually get a lot of pieces out of this small onion. And then you can take the rest that you haven't diced and just continue along. And that should be enough. And scoop it up. Good. That should do it. And add it. See how the mushrooms are shrinking? And now you have the onions and garlic, and they'll mix in. Good. While the mushroom mix is heating, I now need to heat up the broth. And this is a mixture of vegetable and chicken broth. So I have 6 cups, and this has to be warm when I add it to the bisque. It's that one and this. Now, this is just heating up, and you see how it really is now very, very moist. It's shriveled right down, and if you see any onion or anything that's big, just chop it up with your spoon. I'm going to add a little bit of pepper, just a smidge, and some salt. There you go. And once everything is heated, I will then mix in the roux, the flour, the butter, and you'll have a beautiful bisque. The mixture is ready. Now I'll be adding 8 tablespoons of either margarine, butter, or a buttery substitute, and mix it around. Let it melt in. If you notice, it does not take long. See that? Then slowly add in the flour. Now I'm just going to stop just for a minute and make sure that I blend it in so that it doesn't cake up. Add a little bit more. This is only a half a cup of flour. Stir it in. And this is the last bit. You take your warm broth and add it to the pot. And then this will simmer for about 20 minutes uncovered, so that you will not put a lid on it. Again, this is vegetable and chicken broth blend. And I'll take and stir it around. And let it cook for another 20 minutes. and you're ready to have a delicious mushroom bisque. The soup is ready, and just look, it has a slight thickness to it, and it blended in beautifully. And just look at the consistency. It's not too thick, and it's not too loose, and this is delicious. Now, this is the first of 2 soups that I'll be showing you. So now I'm going to set up a whole new format and show you a lovely chicken escarole soup. I'm starting with the prep for the chicken escarole soup. So you see here, I have a cup of barley. It came to a boil and now it's simmering. It's going to simmer for half an hour. It'll absorb all the water. In the meantime, I'm going to prep the carrots. There are 4. So you take and peel the carrots, and you want to get them into small cubes. So take and, as best you can, insert the knife and get it so that you can go right down the middle, and that basically would be your small pieces. So you just go along and you do this for 4 carrots. Then the next step after this will be to prepare the escarole. Escarole looks like this, and when you take off each of the leaves, you see how you have to make sure to clean the base of each of the leaves, and then rip them, put them in a bowl. There's more. Okay, and chop. Okay. Not too small. Like so is fine. Good. And you do that with the entire head of escarole. Here's the last bit of escarole, and I usually take and rip it with my hands too. It's just as easy. Or like I say, you can also chop it. And this, just scrunch it up after you wash it. And keep turning the bowl when you chop. It makes it easier. That's that. And now it goes into the water, and then you'll drain it and create the soup. And over here is the barley, and you can see that it's just about done. This was 1 cup of barley to 3 cups of water. So that will be added in once the chicken, the carrots, and the seasonings have been added to the escarole. Okay, I'm ready to drain the escarole. You just have to leave it in the boiling water for a few minutes. And come over here and drain it. Look at how it shrunk right down. It really, there's very little to it at this point. Just enough though for 1 big pot of soup. And at least you know it's nice and clean. Now I'll take this over. Good. I'll take this over, and now I'm just going to chop the chicken here. I've already started, and you can use a couple of breasts of chicken, or, you know, between 2 and 4 is enough. Cut it down into strips and then chunks, and it's very easy to just cut it. If you see a big piece, just cut it in half. And this is added to the pot. Everything will simmer, and there you have all of your ingredients. And now I'll show you how to put it together. Okay, now here's where the fun begins. You're going to take and add the chicken. And the onions, and this is just 1 big onion. The escarole, and the carrots. Now we still have the barley, but I'm going to wait on that for a minute. And you can just take, mix it around, put it on a medium heat. Now add some water. Along with some broth. And like I said, instead of celery leaves, just a few celery seeds. That should be enough. I like to add a little parsley, about a teaspoon. Then this is soup seasoning, a tablespoon. I just find that it just adds a little bit more flavor. Then I always go for a pinch of salt and a pinch of pepper. It calls for 5 clove garlics. I find that I like to use the minced garlic, so it's a 1/2 teaspoon. That's equivalent to 1 garlic. Now just take and mix it around. And then add in the barley. And basically, that's it. You just have to now occasionally stir it and watch it for a half an hour or so, or until the chicken is cooked. So I would recommend that you cover this, and I'll be back later in the show to check on the end results. Chicken looks done, and the escarole soup looks beautiful. I'm just going to take a piece of the chicken out and test it, because everything else is really cooked. You want to make sure that the chicken is tender. Perfect. Here's a nice big steaming pot of chicken escarole soup, and I'll take a couple of ladles full. And look at how the barley gives it that wonderful thickness. And as you recall, earlier in the show, I also showed you the beautiful mushroom bisque. So now you have two delightful, easy soups to make. And it doesn't have to be in the winter time. It can be any time. I know we had this for lunch, and most probably we'll have this for dinner with other things as well. So I hope you venture to try these two soups, and my last words to you are bon appetit. Enjoy.